Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Meir Weinstein. I'm joined with Mideast expert Meir Jolovitz. We're going to be speaking about the Trump plan, the reaction to the Trump plan for Gaza from world leaders and from the Israeli government as well. This has been a historic week for the Jewish people, for the state of Israel. It's unbelievable the plan that President Donald Trump envisions, and that the Prime Minister of Israel has accepted it, speaking about it, that the Minister of Defense in Israel has already spoken about implementing aspects of it in the IDF right now, and the former spokesperson for the Israeli army, Jonathan Conricus, seems to have accepted the plan on his most recent interview, I believe, with NBC earlier today. So it's an interesting time in Jewish history. Mayor, what's going on right now? What are you hearing? How do you read this right now?
Well, it seems to be split. The people who are strong supporters of Israel historically seem to be euphoric about the announcement, and for one very simple reason. What Trump did in a few minutes was changed completely the narrative of the discussion of the Middle East and where we go tomorrow. For too long during the Biden and Blinken administration, we heard discussion of the day after. Mm-hmm. Well, the day after has now been completely redefined by Donald Trump. So you have euphoria on the part of those people who love and support Israel, and you have a total wreck on the part of those people who are angry, the people who believed in the two-state delusion. Mm-hmm. And I realize this is a condensed version of the podcast that we used to do, so I'm just going to throw a couple of bullet points and everything else. I think it's essential that we begin by understanding, and I think this leads to some of the confusion. What Donald Trump did, and it seemed unexpected in many circles, was that he suggested an idea, and the people who are critical of it, and there's much to criticize, are criticizing because it's a plan. It isn't a plan, it's an idea, it's a concept. And in essence, what he has done is, as I've said, he's redefined the very discussion of the day after. Where do we go from here? Because until Donald Trump was elected president, until he was sworn in with his inauguration, people were still talking about this two-state delusion. The left, the liberals, the media, the academics in Israel, in America, CNN, MSNBC are going crazy because this is counter to the vision that they had.
It sure is. And like I mentioned, the former spokesperson for the IDF, Jonathan Conricus, he's speaking about it, and he's giving justification for it, saying that, when you wage war against Israel, and when you say after the ceasefire, in fact, that you plan to do it again and again and again, and it seems like the population in Gaza wraps themselves around that and fully supports that he says this is payback for all these years of denial of Israel's right and your determination to wage war and throw the Jews out of Israel. So that's Jonathan Conricus. So it's very interesting to look at these changes in spokespeople from Israel. And I'm just wondering if one day there's going to be a posthumous ceremony for Rabbi Kahana to acknowledge that he was correct about this.
Allow me to mention this. I did a lecture just a couple of hours ago, and I brought this up. It's pulling a piece of history, and it's so relevant to what Trump has been doing the last 2 days. American foreign policy, as it relates to Israel and the Middle East, was dictated for such a long time, in fact, by successive American presidents, with perhaps the exception of Trump 45, when he had Mike Pompeo as the Secretary of State. But what I'm about to tell you is the position of the State Department, which basically determined who the United States was going to support and to what degree. The formula that was used, and it was a terrible one in the Middle East for 2 generations, was that the path to peace was Israel gives and the Arabs get.
Mhm.
Israel offers concessions and the Arabs decide if they want to accept concessions. Let me read you a quick, short paragraph. It's so relevant to what Trump has done. And you wonder why these people are going crazy criticizing Trump.
Sure.
In April of 1977, talk about April of 1977,
Mhm.
when Jimmy Carter was president, we had an undersecretary of state, a known anti-Israel, anti-Semite, George
Yep.
Ball.
Right.
George Ball penned a piece which appeared in Foreign Affairs, and the title of the piece was Saving Israel in Spite of Herself. And the suggestion, of course, was, as the title says, that we will tell Israel what needs to be done in order for you to survive.
Mhm.
And that was adopted tragically by the State Department and many successive presidents. And the liberal world, the leftist world, the European Union, the newspapers in America, the media, and the
Right.
Democrats, who were quite loud in opposition to this, screamed in protest when Trump did what he did. Let me read you a short paragraph from the George Ball piece, which defined American foreign policy. This is America dictating terms to the parties in the Middle East. We will tell you what to do. Here's
Mhm.
what he said then. Here's what he said then. Thus, the parties will never come anywhere near an agreement by the traditional processes of diplomatic haggling unless the United States first defines the terms of that agreement, relates them to established international principles, and makes clear that American continued involvement in the area depends on an acceptance by both sides of the terms that the United States prescribes. And everyone was happy with it. We, the United States, will tell Israel what to do.
Mhm.
If Donald Trump would call a press conference tomorrow, and very few people, if any at all, would recall these words as being the words of George Ball and the words that define the State Department's policy, and read these words out and say, this is my policy. We will tell the parties in the Middle East, meaning Israel, stand down, stand back. Hamas, get out. Arabs, get out. We will dictate because that's the only way that there's going to be any solution. The world, the same world that applauded George Ball, not only in 1977, but ever since, would go crazy until they realized the source of the information. And therefore, I think it's absolutely essential that Trump stand firm. Again, what he presented was an idea, it wasn't a plan. And the idea was, you guys have tried time and time and time again. It's failed. We're going to do it my way this time. And the reason we're happy with what I just said was because for the first time in a long time, I guess one could say Trump 45 is an exception, that it also, the first time in a long time, the American executive position, the State Department position run by Marco Rubio, the National Security Advisor, the American ambassador to Israel, are all on the same page.
And that's remarkable.
Mm-hmm.
That's remarkable. Earlier today, the Minister of Justice, who's also the Attorney General of Canada, released a statement condemning the policy, condemning the plan from President Donald Trump, calling it racist.
Yeah.
Now, this Minister of Justice, Arif Virani, in November, late November, he attended an event to commemorate the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian. That's November 29th, I believe. And
Yes.
when you go back in history, what November 29th signifies that in November 29th, 1947,
Okay.
the Arabs rejected
That's right.
the UN partition plan.
That's right.
And they declared to go to war against Israel. So if you're going to attend meetings and conferences and show your support for the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinians, November 29th, which the foundation is the declaration of war against Israel, then I would, and he's condemning the position of President Donald Trump, calling it racist. Well, the position to destroy Israel is the epitome of anti-Semitism.
Right. Allow me
Add
just
to
quick.
that, add to it, please.
Yeah, I will. I realize this new format, we've only got a minute or two, but it's an important minute or two. The protests that we hear, they're complaining about, and the word we hear, the phrase we hear more often than not is ethnic cleansing.
Right.
That ethnic cleansing, forcible displacement, and all the synonyms that apply. That this is an ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. This is an outrage. It's a violation of human rights and everything else. No one has bothered to say, in fact, I think I'm going to pen an op-ed perhaps tonight or tomorrow. No one has bothered to say, isn't this remarkable that all the supporters of the two-state solution, the two-state delusion, every one of them which supports the creation of a Palestinian state, no one seems to care that the Palestinian state that has been envisioned by the Western world, that the Palestinian state which has been described in detail by the Arab world, is one which will be Judenrein. It'll be free of Jews. It'll be ethnic cleansing. So it's okay for Palestine to exist. In fact, they fight for it, free of Jews. That is not displacement. Never mind that the Jews who were displaced forcibly in August of 2005 from Gaza, never mind the Jews who, if there was a state of Palestine, would be forced to leave all their Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria. That type of displacement is okay. That's not ethnic cleansing. But for Donald Trump to come on and say that the only solution is for us, is we need to clean up Gaza, that all of a sudden is ethnic cleansing, and it's insane. And we need to call it out. No one seems to call out. It's the juxtaposition of the two. If, in fact, this is ethnic cleansing, which it isn't, meaning to Gaza, then my God, what about the removal of Jewish communities from Palestine as you envision it? I look at the clock, I see that our time is up. When we meet again, Mayor, my suggestion is there were some contradictions in what Trump envisions with the very ceasefire which Steve Witkoff helped negotiate and which Trump expected Israel to sign. The one asking Israel to step down or to stand back, and the other which basically says that Israel is going to have a free hand to deal with Hamas. So for the next time, if you don't mind, my suggestion is we'll talk about the contradictions of the ceasefire and the Trump vision. But otherwise, a wonderful week. A wonderful week it is.
And we'll be doing this show 2 to 3 times every week. So everyone take notice of that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.